We all do foolish things from time to time. Usually unintentionally, sometimes intentionally. You'd have a lot fewer problems if you were less foolish and more wise. Wisdom doesn't get rid of your problems, but wisdom definitely minimizes your problems. If you know how to respond wisely to situations, your problems will be dramatically reduced in your life. It's all about wisdom, knowing how to handle things and not be foolish. Now, nowhere are we more foolish than in our relationships. We foolishly treat people in ways that are really counterproductive. In fact, a lot of times we provoke people to do the very behavior we don't want. We foolishly think, this is how I'm going to get what I need out of this relationship. More fulfillment, more intimacy, more joy, more satisfaction, more stability. I need my relationships to be fulfilling, not draining. But actually, the things you do are often counterproductive. They are foolish. They are not wise. Because if you do what you naturally feel like doing in a relationship, it's almost always the wrong thing. As I said, wisdom doesn't eliminate problems, but it definitely does reduce them. Now, the classic passage on wisdom in relationships is in the book of James, chapter 3, verses 13 to 18. Let me read it to you. The Bible says this: if you are wise and you understand God's ways, you'll live a life of steady goodness so that only good deeds pour forth. And if you don't brag about the good you do, then you will be truly wise. But if you are bitterly jealous and there's selfish ambition in your heart, don't brag about being wise. That's the worst kind of lie. For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. Such things are earthly and unspiritual and motivated by the devil. For wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder. Now let me just stop right there. You got any chaos in your life? Got any disorder in your life? Got any area of your life that's confused? The Bible says wherever you find confusion, wherever you find disharmony, wherever you find disorder, there's ego. There's ego. Whether it's in the office or at home or at school. He says wherever you find jealousy and selfish ambition, you'll find disorder and every kind of evil. Now wisdom, the kind of wisdom that comes from heaven, is first of all pure. It's also peace-loving, gentle at all times, willing to yield to others. It's full of mercy and good deeds. It shows no partiality, and it's always sincere. Now, those who are peacemakers, he's talking about in relationships, those who are peacemakers plant seeds of peace, and they reap a harvest of goodness. Now, these verses teach us a whole lot about relationships that you're not going to learn anywhere else in life. First, the Bible teaches us that wisdom is a way of relating. It has to do with what you do, not what you think. A lot of people think wisdom is intelligence. Wisdom is smarts. Wisdom is education. No. The world is full of educated fools. The Bible says that wisdom shows up primarily in your relationships. You may have all kinds of knowledge and still be a fool. You may have all kinds of education, so many degrees they call you Dr. Fahrenheit, but you can still be foolish. You can have all kinds of brilliance and be technically smart, but wisdom shows up in relationships. That's why you can take a brilliant scientist whose family life is a mess. He may be smart, but he's not wise. Wisdom always has to do with relationships, and it shows up in how you treat other people. In other words, it's about your life, not your lips. It's about what you do, not what you say. It's not about your diploma. It's about your disposition. And in verse 14 to 16, it says, the way we typically relate to people, he said those ways are foolish. When we get bitter, when we get angry, when we get resentful, when we get jealous, when we get selfish and ambitious in relationships, he goes, all those are foolish ways that don't get you what you want and what you need out of the relationship. In verse 18, it says, those who are peacemakers plant seeds of peace and reap a harvest of goodness. Every day, in every relationship, you are planting seeds. The question is, what kinds of seeds? How do I plant seeds of peace? And the answer is, I got to be wise. I've got to be wise. I've got to do it the wise way. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to look at this passage because it teaches us the 6 things that wise people never do in relationships. And I've done every one of them. And so have you. And they are foolish approaches to your relationships. Your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your friends, your boss, your employees, the neighbors. These are 6 things that wise people never do. And in verse 17, James gives us a checklist. These are the foundations of healthy relationships. But in any relationship, half the problem is you. It's how you respond. And when you respond incorrectly to the crazy makers in your life, you actually make it worse. So let's get right into it. Foundations of healthy relationships. 6 things wise people will never do in relationships. Number 1, first the Bible says that wisdom, if I want to be wise, wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. What's he mean by this word pure? It means uncorrupted, clean, unpolluted, clear, untainted. What's he talking about? The word we use today is the word integrity. He's talking about integrity. And he's saying the foundation of all good relationships is integrity. Now, why is integrity listed first? Because wisdom starts in the heart, not in the head. And the reason integrity is listed first is this. All relationships are built on trust. No trust, no relationship. And all trust is built on truth. If you don't have truth, you don't have trust. If you don't have trust, you don't have a relationship. If a guy's lying to his wife all the time, he may have an arrangement, but he doesn't have a relationship. He may have a commitment, but he doesn't have a relationship. Because relationships are built on truth. Because truth is the foundation of trust. Honesty is the bedrock of all relationships. You gotta be honest. You gotta shoot straight with people. If you're just lying to the people in your life, you don't have a relationship. The Bible says in Ephesians 4:25, you must stop telling lies. Tell each other the truth, because we all belong to each other in the same body. Now here is the first mark of wisdom. If you want your relationships to get better this summer, number 1 is this. If I want to be wise in my relationships, I won't compromise my integrity. I won't compromise my integrity. I won't violate my conscience. I won't compromise my convictions. I won't live a double life. I won't lie to you. I'll tell you the truth because trust is built on truth. No truth, no trust. No trust, no relationship. Proverbs 2 verse 7 says this, there on your outline. God grants a treasure of good sense. And by the way, that's what you need in relationships. You need a treasury of good sense. God grants a treasure of good sense to the godly. He is their shield, protecting those who walk with integrity. You need a shield in your life against the crazy makers. There are people who try to mess up your life all the time. And God says, I will be a shield in your life. You need a shield against the crazy makers. But he says, you got to walk with integrity if you're going to have my shield in your life. So first, wisdom is pure, and if I want to be wise in my relationships, I won't compromise my integrity. Number 2, wisdom is peace-loving. That's the second thing it says. In other words, wise people are peacemakers. They're not troublemakers. Wise people don't carry chip on their shoulder. Wise people are not always looking for a fight. Do you love a good fight? Then you're not wise. The Bible says wisdom is peace-loving. Fools love to fight. Just go on the internet there. It's full of them. Just look up any blog. Foolish people love to fight. They love to argue. They love to mix it up with people. Some people get into politics just because they love the fight. That's not smart. It's foolish. The Bible says wisdom is peace-loving. It's not always trying to provoke anger. I don't push your buttons, even when I know what your buttons are. And even when you've already pushed mine, I'm going to be the wiser person and I'm not going to push back. Proverbs 20, verse 3 says this: any fool can start an argument. Any fool can start arguments. The wise thing is to stay out of them. So don't be baited by internet trolls who, they'll say something off the wall and then you get stuck arguing with them online. You don't even care about these people. He says, don't get baited. Don't get baited, and don't antagonize people's anger. We all use tools, tricks of the trade, skills in relationships that are actually counterproductive. They're hurtful, they're harmful, and they don't get you what you want out of a relationship. In fact, they get you the exact opposite behavior. But when we lack wisdom, we use them anyway. Number 3, the third thing the Bible says, wisdom is gentle all the time. It's gentle all the time. It is courteous, the Bible says in the Living Bible. The NIV translates it considerate. If I'm wise, I'm always going to be considerate. Look it up here on the screen. Philippians 4:5 says this in the Bible. Let everyone see that you are considerate in most of everything you do. Oh, it didn't say that. It says, let everybody see that you are considerate in what? All you do. I don't like that word. I looked it up in the original Greek. It means all. Wait a minute. You mean I have to be considerate when people are inconsiderate to me? Yes. I have to be considerate to clerks who are jerks? Yes. When people are rude to me, I don't get to be rude back? No, not if I'm smart. If I'm foolish, I can get back. But if I want to be wise, if I want to have wisdom, I am always, always, always considerate. I am not allowed to call you names. I am not allowed to be rude to you. I'm not allowed to slur you back. I'm not allowed to get even, because that puts me on the same level as you. I am always to be considerate. Now, this is so important. Wise people are considerate even when people are blasting away at them. Why? Because being considerate is the antidote to the 2 most common mistakes, foolish mistakes, that you make in relationships. The 2 most common mistakes that you make in relationships. And the first mistake you make is we react to what people say and ignore how people feel. We pay too much attention to their words and not enough attention to their emotions. The words don't really matter. People say stuff when they're angry they don't even mean. They use words they don't even intend to use. They exaggerate things. But you need to look behind the words and look at the emotion, because that's what it is. People don't always say what they mean, but they always feel what they feel. And so if you are wise in a relationship, you stop focusing on what your kids or your boyfriend or your husband or your wife or your boss says that just ticks you off, and you start looking behind and go, what's the emotion they're feeling there, and why are they feeling that emotion? That's what wise people do. You see, being considerate means simply mindful of the feelings of others. To be considerate means mindful of the feelings of others. Not the words, but the feeling. And if I'm considerate, even when you blast me, I look beyond and I go, well, now what would cause them to feel that way? And I just let the words roll right past me. And I go, what would cause them to be that uptight, that irritated, that rude? Hurt people always hurt people. Unkind people are those who need your kindness the most. They need massive doses of kindness. When people are rude and unkind, they are screaming to the world, I'm in pain. People who are not in pain are kind. People who are always in pain are unkind and rude. Hurt people hurt people. So you look beyond the words and you look at the feelings. Romans 15:2 says this, here on the screen, we must be considerate. It means mindful of the feelings of others, of the doubts, everybody's got doubts, and the fears, everybody's got fears of others. Let's please the other person, not ourselves, in doing what's good for him and build him up. We react to what people say and ignore what they're feeling. Big mistake. The other mistake we do is we invalidate any feelings that we don't feel ourselves. I don't feel it, so you shouldn't. If I don't feel what you feel, then your feeling is dumb, It's irrational, it's illogical, it makes no sense, and you shouldn't feel it. And we just dismiss it because we don't feel it, then you shouldn't feel it. That's foolish. That is not wise. You ever played this game? It's cold in here. No, it's not. Yes, it's cold in here. No, it's not. I'm cold. No, you're not. Actually, it's quite warm. In fact, I'm burning up in here. No, you're not. And you start arguing over, all kinds of stuff. It's just a feeling. It's not a fact. It's just a feeling. You can argue over facts. This is a feeling. Can somebody be cold and somebody else be warm at the same time? Yes. Yes. So why are you arguing about it? Whoever invented the dual control electric blanket should be given the Nobel Peace Prize. It saved millions of marriages. When we invalidate other people's feelings because we don't feel it, we minimize that person. Guys, if your girlfriend or your wife says to you, I feel ugly, you don't dismiss it. You're not ugly. That doesn't help at all. What you need to do is say, why would you feel that? What would make you say that? Because you need to look beyond the feeling, the words, and say, why would she say, she's obviously not ugly? But for you to just say, you're not ugly, that's not helpful. That's not helpful. When they says, I feel ugly, you need to go, why would you say that? What's making you feel that today? Now you're getting to the real issue. Somebody says, I'm afraid. Well, don't be. Oh, thank you. That was very helpful. I really felt your moral support right there just then. I'm scared to death, and you say, don't. Thank you very much. That is minimizing. Now, if you don't get anything else I say, get this today. Feelings are neither right nor wrong. They're just there. Feelings are neither right nor wrong. They're just there. They're not facts, so you don't need to argue it. They're just feelings. And if I feel something, I shouldn't have to defend it. And if you feel something, you shouldn't have to defend it. Somebody should just go, I hear you. And maybe other people feel that way too. What we do is we try to convince people that their feelings are wrong, and you're always going to lose at that one. Number 3, if I want to be wise, I won't minimize your feelings. I don't compromise my integrity. I don't antagonize your anger, push your hot buttons, and I don't minimize your feelings. Wisdom acknowledges your feelings and doesn't diminish them. See, the typical reaction when we don't feel what other people feel, we do 2 things. Number 1, we belittle them. If you had a brain, you would know that's just not true. And you wouldn't feel that way. We belittle. That doesn't help. And the other thing, this is worse, is we play psychologist. Now, the reason you feel this way is because your father, okay. All right. You are not a psychologist, and you are condescending when you try to tell people why they feel the way they feel. You don't even know why you feel the way you feel. You can't figure out your own motives half the time. Why would you think you could figure out somebody else's? The moment you start judging somebody else's motives, you're playing God, and you're wrong. That's a battle you're going to lose. Don't play psychologist. Proverbs 15:4 says this in the Bible: kind words bring life, but cruel words crush your spirit. You ever come home from a day at work and play the game, my day was worse than your day? Well, I had this problem, and your husband or your wife or your roommate tells you all the bad things, and instead of you sympathizing, empathizing, and being considerate, you say, you think you had problems. No, those are minor. Let me tell you what a real problem is. And you start telling your problem. Is that actually helping the relationship? No, it's foolish. It's not wise. The Bible says wisdom is gentle. Wisdom is considerate. Is it possible you both had a tough day? Yes. Is it possible that you could be considerate of their tough day? without having to top it? Yes. What am I saying? I'm saying if you want to be wise, if you want to stop making the same stupid relational mistakes over and over and over, you need to stop minimizing other people's feelings. You need to let your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your spouse, your parents, your children, whoever, you need to let them feel what they feel without minimizing it. You need to let them feel tired when they're tired and not try to talk them out of it. You need to let them feel depressed when they're depressed and not try to talk them out of it. You need to let them feel angry or alone or scared when they feel that way. Friends offer kind words, not remedies. The other day, Kay was being interviewed, and they asked her, said, do you wake up grumpy in the morning? She said, no, I usually let him sleep. She's considerate. She's considerate. She lets me sleep in. Some days I don't believe in God before 11 a.m. Number 4, wisdom is willing to yield to others. Pastor Tom is going to come and teach us on this 4th mark of wisdom.
It's open to reason. It allows discussion. This Greek word, eupathos, it's the only time in the whole Bible this word is used. And it's a great word for wisdom in relationships. It means you're not stubborn. You're not defensive. Now, how do you know that? How do you know if you have this kind of quality in your life? One of the main ways you know is how you listen. That's one of the main ways that you see this willingness to yield to others. The wiser you are, the better a listener you will be. And the more foolish you are, the less you will listen to others. I've got to admit, I do a very unwise thing all the time in relationships. It's totally unwise. I tend to finish people's sentences for them. Anybody else do this? You know, they're saying something and I want to move the conversation along. So I say the end of the sentence. That's very unwise because I'm not letting them say what they want to say, and I may not hear really what I need to hear in that. So if you're wise, you realize it's foolish to cut people off. It's foolish to not let people have their say. It's foolish to jump to conclusions. So instead of that, you want to be open to reason. You want to be willing to listen. You want to be willing to learn. Now, if I asked you, are you a reasonable person? I think most of us would say, yes, I'm reasonable. Let me ask you, how do you know you're reasonable? Because think about this. If you were unreasonable, you wouldn't know you were unreasonable because you were unreasonable. So how do you know if you're really a reasonable person? One of the ways that you know is, do you listen to others? Let me tell you one of the main ways you know if you're a reasonable person. Can people you disagree with reason with you? If you have people in your life, you disagree with them, but they can reason with you. You can talk through it. That's one of the ways that you know that you're a reasonable person. But a lot of us, we have this attitude, don't confuse me with the facts. My mind is made up. When I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. We have this kind of an attitude. And so because of that, we're not wise in relationships. And because of that, we all struggle with this. We have this oversensitivity when it comes to talking to other people with other people's suggestions. Because it's tough. Let's just admit it. It is tough to hear the suggestions of other people. You have to put yourself out there. Like that new pastor who said to his church, first sermon he was preaching, and he said, you know, I really want your honest suggestions afterwards. So after the message, he was talking to one of the men in the church, and he said, okay, give me your honest suggestions. And the guy said, well, honestly, Pastor, that sermon stunk. And the guy looked at him and said, he was trying to be reasonable. He said, well, okay, what exactly stunk about it? He really wanted to hear. And he said, well, there were 3 things that stunk about it. First, you read it. Second, you read it poorly. And third, it wasn't worth reading in the first place. Now, the next guy that came to talk to the pastor was trying to encourage him and said, don't worry about old Jim. He just repeats what everybody else says. So don't worry about that at all. The tough thing about listening to other people and hearing their suggestions is you got to put yourself out there. And it can hurt sometimes. But if you're going to be wise, in fact, write this in with me. If I want to be wise, I won't criticize your suggestions. I won't criticize your suggestions. A wise person can learn from anybody. Listen, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So people in your life They're going to be right. And let me tell you something God does in my life, and He's going to do in your life to totally humble you when it comes to listening to other people's suggestions. There are going to be people in your life, the most irritating people in your life, the you drive me crazy kind of people we're talking about. Sometimes they're going to have a good suggestion. That person in your family, that they're wrong about everything else, they're going to be right about something. That person at your office, that person at your school, it's the worst thing in the world when the very person that's driving you crazy has a good suggestion for your life. But let me ask you, can you learn from them? Can you learn from anybody? Look at this next verse in the outline, Proverbs 18:15. Intelligent people are always open to new ideas. In fact, they look for them. Anywhere and everywhere, you look for these new ideas. Now, what if people have a stupid idea? Well, you do the same thing with their stupid idea that you do with your stupid ideas. If it's a good idea, you listen to it and you learn. If it's a stupid idea, then you ignore it and you forget it. Stop wasting your life trying to prove a stupid idea right or wrong. Just move on to the next good idea. If I'm wise, I'm open to suggestions. I won't criticize your suggestions.
You know, I have spent much of my life hanging out with people I totally disagree with, so I could share the love of Jesus with them and help them come to know Christ, which means I've heard a lot of stupid ideas. I've sat in groups of people who share me stuff that's the most off-the-wall, crazy idea. What do? You just smile and you nod and you don't interrupt and you let them say their entire piece. Because what I've learned is if you let people say their entire piece, they'll let you say your entire piece. And then I can come back and say, well, here's what I think. Here's what I believe. Here's what the Bible says. And people go, oh, well, that makes sense. I never thought about it that way. But if you try to interrupt them in advance, you try to take them down point by point, you are being a fool. It is foolish to try to take people down point by point. You just make them mad. As Tom said, you just got to listen. You got to be open to reason. Now, number 5, the Bible says wisdom is full of mercy and good deeds. Circle that word mercy. If I'm going to be wise, I'm going to maximize mercy. I'm going to major on mercy in my relationships, full of mercy and good deeds. In other words, it's wise to show grace to people when they mess up, when they blow it, when they sin, when they fumble, when they flub up, when they have faults, when they fail. It's wise to show mercy when people show up. It's wise to cut people slack when they mess up. Let's just take it this way. Who is the wisest person in the universe? God. Who is the most merciful person in the universe? God. You think there's any little connection there? Yes. Fools are judgmental. Wise people are merciful. Anytime I start judging you, I'm being foolish. Anytime I'm being merciful, I'm being like God. And that's wise. It's wise to give people the benefit of the doubt. It's wise to show grace, to show mercy, to be forgiving, to cut people some slack. God cuts me slack all the time, so I better cut it to somebody else. Everything you have in life is a sheer gift from God. Your next breath is because of the mercy of God. You wouldn't be alive if it weren't for the mercy of God. If it weren't for the grace of God, you wouldn't see, hear, touch, smell. You wouldn't exist. Everything and I have and everything you have is because God is a merciful and gracious God. God doesn't give me what I deserve. He gives me what I need. If I got what I deserved, I wouldn't be standing here. If you got what you deserve, you wouldn't be alive. God doesn't give you what you deserve. He gives you what you need. That's mercy. And the Bible says that's wise. Wise people give people what they need, not what they deserve. That's mercy and that's wisdom. So here's the 5th mark of wisdom in a relationship. If I want to be wise, my kids, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my husband, my wife, if I want to be wise, I won't emphasize your mistakes because I am merciful. Wise people don't rub it in. Wise people are merciful. So let me ask you, how high do you rate on mercy? Do you jump on every fault or blunder? Great move, klutzo. You're always picking at people, always pointing out their errors and mistakes. Do you continually bring up the past? And every little sin that your husband or your wife or your girlfriend or whoever has done, you file it back so you can pull it out when you need to get a little leverage. Heard about a high school kid recently came home from school with a bad report card, and his dad blew a gasket. And next day he went back to school, and his friend at school said, "What did your dad think?" He said, "Oh, my dad got historical." He said, "Don't you mean hysterical?" He said, "No, historical. He told me everything I've ever done wrong." Do you do that? You let it all pile up, you let it all dam up, and then when somebody hits you at the wrong spot, you just you let it all out? That is foolish, because wisdom is full of mercy. It's full of good deeds. The Bible says in Proverbs 17:9, love forgets mistakes. Nagging about them parts the best of friends. Now think of the person who's closest to you in your life. Right now, okay. Think of the person who's closest to you in your life. And even though you love them, there's some things they do that just flat out bug you. I mean, it really bugs you. You know those things that really get you going? Let it go. Let it go. It is foolish to hold on to it. Let it go. There's so many things to love about them. Let it go. You're not God. Number 6. The Bible says that wisdom is impartial and always sincere. Now this is interesting. These two words in the Greek, in the original Greek in the Bible, are the words adikritos and anipokritos. They're very similar words. Impartial and sincere. Adikritos, anipokritos. Let me explain it this way. The Greeks invented theater. Comedies, tragedies, all Plato, Socrates, Sophocles, all these guys wrote very famous plays. And in Greek plays, one guy would often be an actor and would play many parts. He'd come out wearing a mask and he'd say his part. Then he'd go back behind the stage, he'd get another mask, he'd come back out and he'd play somebody else's part. Then he'd go back behind the stage and he'd get another mask and he'd come back out. He's playing many roles and wearing many masks, and the word in Greek for that person, he was called a hypokritos. We get the word hypocrite from it. It means he wears a mask. He's always acting a different role. Hypokritos, always playing a role, always wearing a mask. These words are the exact opposite. Adikritos, anipokritos, it means impartial and sincere. It means you're genuine. You're without hypocrisy. You're the real deal. The word we would use today is the word authentic. Authentic. Now, here's the 6th key. If I want to be wise in my relationships, I won't disguise my intentions. I won't wear a mask. I won't fake it. I won't pretend. I won't try to be somebody that I'm not. I won't lie to you. I won't cheat you. I won't trick you. I won't fake you out. I won't take advantage of you. I won't deliberately mislead you. The point is this: fools are fakes. Wise people are authentic. They're the real deal. They aren't phonies. They're genuine. They're authentic. They're warts and all. What you see is what you get. Now, there are 2 places today where people fake it more than anywhere else, where people are phony. They don't show their true selves more than anywhere else. 2 places: online and on dates. They don't show their true selves. They're always trying to make themselves look better than they really are, online and on dates. Psalm 12, verse 2, look up here on it. The Bible says, Proverbs 10:18, the lips of a liar conceal hostility, and whoever spreads accusations is a fool. Let me read you Psalm 12:2. Everyone lies to his neighbor. Their flattering lips speak with deception. Dating actually sets up relationships to be phony, because dating in itself is an artificial relationship. You look your best, you act your best, you talk your best, you dress your best, shoot, you smell your best on a date. It's not the real you. No, you're just super cool, and you're not really real. Now let's review. How wise are you in your relationships? Do you ever compromise your integrity? That's not wise. Do you antagonize other people's anger and push their buttons intentionally just to get even? Dumb. Not wise. Do you minimize feelings? You shouldn't feel that way. Do you criticize suggestions? That's a dumb idea. Do you disguise your attention? Friends, as your pastor who loves you, if you don't wise up, if you don't learn some godly wisdom, you're going to go through your entire life making the same relational mistakes over and over and over and over, and you're not going to get what you want out of that relationship. An intimate, satisfying, soul-satisfying relationship, the kind that God intended for you to have. How do I get the wisdom to stop making foolish mistakes in relationships? Well, there's only two places you get wisdom. You don't get it from college. You don't get it from online blogs. You don't get it from TV shows. You get wisdom from knowing God and doing what he says to do, doing his word, knowing God and doing his word. You can get intelligence, you can get facts, you can get information, you can get smarts, you can get technical skills from going to school, but you don't get wisdom from going to school. You get wisdom from knowing God and doing what he says to do, because he is the source of all wisdom.